get our eyes on Brian Jackson on your left. Gerry Thompson on your right. It's Dredge. It's Mono Red Hollow One. And as we mentioned, this field is stacked. Gerry Thompson is here. Brad Nelson is here. Brian Braun-Duin. Reed Duke, Hall of Fame member now in Seth Manfield.
Congratulations.
And one of my favorite people, one of my favorite columns from StarCityGames.com, the boisterous Ari Lax.
Ari made it out?
Oh, yeah. I think we might be watching him next round. We'll see how the pairings shake out as we're going to see Brian Jackson cast Faithless Looting. He'll draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards to get his day started after falling to 18 via Blood Crypt. A great article by Dylan Hand on the select side of Star City Games this week, where he was discussing the best 1-drops in the format, feeling that Faithless Looting, Ancient Stirrings, and Ether Vial, if you're not playing one of those cards here this week and you're doing something wrong, it's hard to argue with that.
I mean, Faithless Looting is not okay. Wouldn't begrudge anyone who decided to start off their deck list with 4 of those, and both competitors here with 4 in their main decks, even though they're doing very different things.
It'll be a Flameblade Adept there for Gerry Thompson. Arid Mesa will bring him down to 19, searching up a basic mountain. Dredging Life and the Lone Will, Brian Jackson. A Stinkweed Imp, a Conflagrate, and a Shriekhorn are placed into the graveyard. So Jackson's got his Dredge engine online. It's a little slow to start, but Golgari Grave Troll is no longer with us, so it's never going to be too quick.
Yeah. Well, good news for Thompson here, as you know, Gerry's deck, I would argue, a little bit on the slower side in the context of this matchup, and he needs Jackson to sort of fade maybe the first 2 or 3 turns of the game here. I think from that position, Thompson's deck gets a lot more powerful if he's not under duress, from the jump point.
This deck that Gerry is playing here this weekend, he's talked about it on his podcast. He's written about it on the premium side of StarCityGames.com. And if you read his 10 Things article here this week that went live on the select side of Star City Games, you'll know that Ed B on Magic Online actually won a Modern Challenge with this deck. Kind of a called shot from Gerry and Brian Gottlieb on the GAM podcast. And as players still continue to work and figure out what's the best home from Arclight Phoenix, at least for right now, this appears as though it might be the most powerful one.
Although the card is so open-ended and plays well with some of the most powerful enablers in the format that I think there's going to be room for a lot of iteration for that card.
Thompson going to search up another mountain. Keep in mind his deck is mono red. He will now play a copy of Burning Inquiry. We will spin the wheel. Looking to place Arclight Phoenix into the graveyard, but not place Hollow One there. This is truly spinning the wheel.
Yes. But also, to a certain extent, Thompson doesn't really care what the outcome is.
That's also true. So those players are going to lose a couple of cards here. Arclight Phoenix will be placed in the graveyard along with a couple of mountains. I imagine Gerry's not unhappy with that. Of course, Burning Inquiry with Dredge. Now, we could have seen Brian Jackson actually dredge a Stinkweed Imp there. It looks like he elected not to.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a Dredge there.
Okay. Creeping Chill and a couple of lands placed in Brian Jackson's graveyard. And now here will be a Faithless Looting. So Thompson will draw 1 and 2. Bedlam Revelers, plural, were the draw steps. Keep in mind, this Flameblade Adept, it's going to now be a 6-power creature. There will be 5 discards that have taken place this turn. So that thing hits pretty hard in this deck, as the Bedlam Revelers will go to the graveyard. And now there is an attack for, it looks like 6 points of damage. Jackson going to fall down to 12. Arclight Phoenix not able to come back this turn, as now Jackson will do a little bit of dredging. He will dredge that Stinkweed Imp, so 5 cards will be placed into the graveyard. Among them a Shriekhorn. And it looks like another copy of Faithless Looting.
So you're seeing kind of the structural differences between Thompson's build and what Ross was playing the last time we covered already in the early turns. The easiest way to sum it up is Ross's deck is good at keeping cards in its hand, and Thompson's deck is interested in discarding. And a lot of card selection is informed by that. For example, Ross did not play Bedlam Reveler last week and instead played Crackling Drake. Thompson here obviously is on Bedlam Reveler, one of the more powerful cards in his deck.
Bloodghast will come back from the graveyard. Prize Amalgam will trigger, as you saw Brian Jackson play a copy of Gemstone Mine. 3 mining counters on that powerful land. Yeah, when we were in Vegas, Ross opting to go to Crackling Drake, a card that many people didn't think would even see any play in Modern, but when we watched, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Here's a Conflagrate. Looks like this is going to try to take down the Flameblade Adept.
Not only was it good, but it completely faded all graveyard hate.
Yeah.
Because exiling doesn't matter for that card.
Yep, that was part of Ross's plan. Now for Ross Merriam, of course, that worked out very, very well. As Conflagrate will take care of that Flameblade Adept. And that prized amalgam trigger, it looks like Jackson may have missed. He announced it. And that's a hard one to miss, so we'll see exactly how that will shake out as we head back Gerry's way. Then again, maybe he didn't announce it. Obviously, it's not on the battlefield here. It looked like he may have. Again, we don't see the communication, as here's a copy of Burning Inquiry.
And Jackson again electing not to dredge here. It could be just one of those, you think about it with your own draw steps and your own card drawing spells, but it really, you get hit with symmetrical card draw so infrequently that it's just not on your radar to be dredging off of that.
Yep.
But you can.
Thompson's follow-up here after that Burning Inquiry. That made him lose another copy of Bedlam Reveler, so all of his Revelers are in the graveyard right now.
Thompson would really like to put together 3 spells this turn if he can.
Well, that's spell 2. He's on the hunt for Arclight Phoenix. He's already got one in the graveyard, maybe looking to place another one in there via this Faithless Looting. Looks like Manamorphose and Gutshot will go to the graveyard. The Lightning Bolt's going to go upstairs, going to knock Jackson down to 9. He'll get back now the Arclight Phoenix, and Jackson's going to fall down to 6. But this should be a pretty big turn here for Brian. A lot of cards in the graveyard, a couple copies of Faithless Looting down there as well. He's going to dredge a Stinkweed Imp. So 5 cards we place in the graveyard here. Once again, Mountain among them.
This would be a really good time for Jackson to hit some Creeping Chills.
Yes, it would.
Doesn't interact with flying creatures all that reliably, so the best way to race from here would be just to get some Drain 3s going.
And now it'll be a Faithless Looting. So Jackson will start by dredging Life from the Loam. 3 cards here. Looks like he found 2 nice ones there in Creeping Chill and Narc Amoeba. A blocker for Arclight Phoenix and the ability to gain a little bit of life.
Yeah, Jackson's in a pretty big hole right now in the damage race, but this is a good start.
And now 3 more cards. Now you saw him point to the prized amalgam again, so look, he didn't get, I saw him point to it last time and didn't bring it back, so it is my hope that he brings it back this time. Might be a little bit new to dredge, though. Now here's an attack with the Bloodghast.
People also sometimes can have a little bit of the jitters on camera.
Yeah.
And, particularly when your opponent has a certain profile, a certain resume.
Indeed. But the prized amalgam is back now, as is another copy of Bloodghast. So you see the life totals here. It's 12 to 9. Thompson will start off with a Manamorphose. He'll draw a card. That's spell number 1 if it matters this turn. It looks like his hand has a Lightning Bolt and I believe a copy of Maximize Velocity.
And Thompson still has a Faithless Looting down there.
And it looks like he'll play one. So he'll draw 2. Arid Mesa and a Hollow One among them. Not a hard deck for not a hard deck to get a Hollow One on the battlefield with.
No, but if Thompson wants it in this spot, I think he's going to have to keep a land.
Yep.
He doesn't have another way to cycle or discard in the spot. And I think if he keeps the land, he's looking at discarding Maximize Velocity and Lightning Bolt. The Lightning Bolt's a painful discard here. Damage race is really tight. But I'm assuming that it's either you keep Arid Mesa Hollow One or you pitch Arid Mesa Hollow One.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
It looks like he's going to pitch Arid Mesa and Hollow One now. Attack with the Arclight Phoenix. Looks like Jackson's going to take that hit. Feels a little risky to take that hit there.
Well, how much is he coming back for here? Let's see.
Looks like it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 8. And that's before anything else worked itself into the equation.
So 1 Creeping Chill is not lethal from this spot?
Nope. Jackson going to fall down to 5 now from that fetch land.
he can dredge loam and hope to hit Confligate, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, he's already gone through one of them. He's only playing 2 main deck copies here. It looks like he's going to take a draw step. Looks like he's got no dredgers in the graveyard.
If you're going to take a draw step there, I think you need a chump.
Sure. With an Archimedes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not drawing to anything that comes up for lethal, and you might not get to you may not get to block next turn. That's something that comes up. I think people don't necessarily have on their radar all the time. When your opponent shows a card like Gut Shot, which Thompson has earlier in this game, it's no guarantee you get to chump block next turn.
Yep.
So sometimes you got to take it preemptively, and I know you're giving up a little bit because, what if I want to attack with the Narcomoeba? What if I find some other answer? But your opponent may not allow you to block next turn, and if the race is tied to you being able to block at some point, you might as well do it right away when you can.
Well, Blood Crypt's going to bring Brian Jackson down to 3, and Thompson has a Lightning Bolt in hand.
I mean, you got to have lethal dialed up here if you're willing to play land untapped.
Yeah, well, here's a copy of Faithless Looting. So the opportunity to dredge a Creeping Chill is still here. There are 3 cards. That's a Narcomoeba.
But remember, 1 Creeping Chill still isn't lethal.
That's true. But 1 Creeping Chill will keep him alive.
Yes.
Up from 3 to 6. But he did not find one, as he had to draw a card with the second draw of Faithless Looting. So now Brian Jackson's going to discard 2 cards. That'll be a Stinkweed Imp and a Life from the Loam.
So I think Thompson knows now that he's in the clear.
Yes, sir. And we're going to see Brian attack here for, it looks like 7 on the ground.
Looks like Thompson was on the precipice of revealing the Lightning Bolt to say, like, hey, I got lethal, but, people can do things in this format for no mana, especially dredge players, so don't want to rush it.
Yep, he'll show a Lightning Bolt now with Jackson at 3 life, and that'll get the job done. So Gerry Thompson's going to win game number 1 here over Brian Jackson. Mono Red Hollow One is up a game over Dredge as we turn our attention to these players' sideboards. Get our eyes on what they're working with. We'll start with Brian Jackson, who's got 3 Lightning Axe, 3 Nature's Claims, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Damping Spheres, a Leyline of the Void, a Thoughtseize, a Dark Blast, an Assassin's Trophy, and that 3rd copy of Conflagrate.
I want the 3rd copy of Confligate in this matchup for sure.
Too.
If it's going to come down to racing, how many of those are in your deck is going to be really important. I would bring in the Leyline of the Void as well, and that would just about do it for me.
Yeah, Jerry's deck is using the graveyard, obviously. It's a question of, I guess, how much do we feel like it's using the graveyard. Arclight Phoenix is pretty obvious, and then we saw Faithless Looting.
I think Leyline of the Void is so, the 1 copy, the risk of putting it in is so low, and the upside is huge if it's in your opening hand. I think it's worth bringing in the 1 copy. I don't. Would you want to load up on 4? I'm less certain about that, but 1 copy seems easy to bring in.
For Thompson's side, it's 4 Tormod's Crypts, 4 Ancient Grudge, 3 Eidolon of the Great Revel, 2 Shrine of Burning Rage, and 2 Dismembers. Well, one of these is obvious.
Yeah, 4 copies of Tormod's Crypt. I really wouldn't work with anything else here. You could bring in the Grudge for Shriekhorn. Seems a little narrow. Eidolon of the Burning, Eidolon of the Great Revel, I think is actively bad in this sort of matchup. Dismember, not a whole lot to kill, and matchup's too fast for Shrine of the Burning Rage.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They will sideboard and shuffle up for game number 2. And while they're working on that, we want to work on this. It's the holiday season.
Yes.
We have a holiday sale here, folks, at StarCityGames.com. That's going to end January 7th, so you got a lot of time to check it out. But it's worth noting that hundreds of new items are going to be added daily. Go to StarCityGames.com/holiday sale. Let's take a look at our graphic here, my friend. All right, so we've got that Brainstorm playmat from Grand Prix, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Shadows over Innistrad. What's the best card in that set?
I don't know.
Emrakul wasn't in that set. Shadows over Innistrad. What was a good card in Shadows? We covered that set.
It's all lost on me, man.
It's all kind of a blur.
You need to keep it Onslaught and back.
Okay.
Those sets I can talk about constructively.
Selfless Spirit was in that set?
That's such a weak answer to the most powerful card in the set. There's no way that's it.
That can't be it. I think Spellpuller was in that set, maybe? That sounds right-ish? Not sure.
Spellcrawler's good.
That's a good card. We got Grand Prix Charlotte Noble Hierarch sleeves. Nico Bolas is hanging out on some huge box back there. Got some Dragon Shields.
I went perusing. Not a bad time to be picking up some HP duels.
Okay.
Prices there are solid, and if you've been thinking about, dipping your toes in the water. Market's cooled on dual lands a little bit last couple of months.
Financial Patrick is here.
And SCG's got some competitive prices on HP Duel, so not a bad time to go shopping for yourself or a loved one or a liked one, I suppose.
Or like you said, yourself.
Or yourself.
Alurin, I've got Atraxa, the commander card, a beautiful island, and some sort of planes.
And the sale runs all the way to January 7th, so you can wait to get all that holiday cream and then go back to the website, cash it all in.
There it is. Go to StarCityGames.com/holiday sale. Hundreds of new items will be added daily. It'll end January 7th as we're getting ready here for game number 2. One of the best cards in Shadows over Innistrad was Archangel Avacyn.
Good answer. That's a sweet design.
That's a good card. And a sweet design.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
That's an awesome design to make the most powerful card in the set.
And that's a card Gerry Thompson has cast quite a bit during his green-white kind of mid-rangey walking ballista days. The 34-year-old from Elk River, Minnesota, with his 22 open top 8s, 5 open wins, 7 invitational top 8s, and 2 wins. Well, he went undefeated with Archangel Avacyn in that green-white deck in Atlanta a couple of years ago. Beat me in round 14. I'll never forget it. At one time, had $20,000 under his bed in a shoebox. I actually saw that shoebox when he lived in Indianapolis. Enjoys starting trips to play Pokemon Go at 4 a.m. That's definitely true. And Jason Ford, a friend, holds the rights to name his firstborn child. Hi, Jason. That's Gerry T. So get ready here for game 2. He's currently up 1. These players will be given the green light. We'll be underway here in just a moment.
Got it.
There's the one of Leyline. There it is. Sting in the Ice, also a card from Shadows over Innistrad.
Sure.
That's also a good one. Starting to see some play in Modern.
These are some cool designs.
Yeah. It'll be a stomping ground now here for Brian Jackson. He's going to fall down to 17. The old fetch plus shock. One of your favorite red 1-drops, Village Messenger.
Yeah, get busy.
Yeah, that's a beater. Arlen Cord. That one kind of disappointed. Westvale Abbey, always watching. That set had some good constructed cards. As here's a Faithless Looting.
Arlen Cord is only disappointing if you think every Planeswalker is supposed to be busted. It's okay for some of them to just be okay and not show up all that much.
That card randomly sees play in Vintage.
I know.
Yeah. Declaration in Stone.
Okay.
That was a card. I liked that card a lot, actually. Griff's Boon for you humans players out there. Hey, Tom Ross. Life on the Loam and Prize Amalgam will be the discards as we head back over to Gerry T. It'll be a Tormod's Crypt and a Flameblade Adept. So Thompson looking to control the graveyard here. Now, the fun thing will be is when is he going to blow the Tormod's Crypt? Does he want to do it on a Dredge 3 Life in the Loam? The answer is no.
I think he wants to wait until the Amalgam is at risk of coming back.
We're going to see now Bloodghast is in the graveyard along with Stinky. So it's getting a little bit juicier there for that Tormod's Crypt.
Interesting, because I thought that would be enough to get the Tormod's Crypt out of Thompson, because if Jackson plays a fetch land, now it starts to get a little awkward. He triggers the Bloodghast, and if you respond by tagging it, then he can respond by sacking.
By cracking the fetch, yeah.
And I thought that once Jackson was at risk of getting back the Amalgam would be the flashpoint for Thompson to sacrifice the Crypt. So I guess I would have preferred for Thompson just to do that in the draw step. But fortunately for him, Jackson without a fetch land, and there's no harm there.
So Thompson will blow the Tormod's Crypt, take care of the graveyard. Bloodghast will not be coming back. Here's a Lightning Axe. Discarding Life from the Loam to take care of that Flameblade Adept that dealt so much damage in the last game, so we head back over to Gerry Thompson. He'll draw a mountain for the turn. He'll play a mountain. And he's going to play a copy of Goblin Lore. So he'll draw 4 cards and discard 3 at random. Perhaps we'll see a hollow one on this turn.
Yeah, hollow one pretty important here for Thompson in a game where he won't have access to his graveyard.
Yeah. So these 3 cards will go away. Bedlam Reveler looking extra stinky this game. Graveyard's a pretty good place for that. But it doesn't look like there's any hollow ones hanging out in Thompson's hand, so he'll just pass the turn back. This one of Leyline looking pretty good here, partner, as it'll be a Dredge 3 from Brian Jackson. Prized Amalgam, Conflagrate, Faithless Looting. The Dredge, not too bad there for Brian Jackson.
Yeah, still a slow burn here, though, so Thompson's got a lot of time to to get something set up.
Brian will play that Life from the Loam. No lands to get back, just looking to get his Dredge engine back online. So we head back over to Gerry. Gerry will draw. It'll be a Metamorphose. That's spell 1, though counting spells in this spot not mattering all that much because Arclight Phoenix does not want to be placed into the graveyard.
Yeah, I think from Thompson's perspective, hopefully the game is just played at a slow enough pace that you can just cast it for 4 and it'll be good enough.
Interesting card that Gerry's brought in here in Shrine of Burning Rage. Maybe a little bit surprising to see that brought in, but it is a card that Brian Jackson will have some difficulty getting off of the battlefield. Can't imagine that he brought in Ancient Grudge.
Yeah, I assume that was just too slow for this kind of matchup, but if Thompson feels like he might have access to his graveyard, he may just want different paths to win the game.
A card you're very familiar with in Shrine of Burning Rage. This thing can dome someone for 8 to 12 points of damage if the game's going well.
Was a key component in my one invitational top 8.
Yeah.
Played 4 of these in the main and standard. It was busted. Totally busted. Not okay.
Now, to note, Thompson there, he played Metamorphose first, 2 red, plays Faithless Looting, discards 2 cards, which means a hollow one's going to cost a single mana, uses the red that was floating, doesn't need to use the Copperline Gorge, which is untapped right now, as we head back over to Brian Jackson, who dredges 3 cards, among them Stinkweed Imp.
This is still a really slow pace here.
And not much to do, so Brian will just pass the turn back over to Gerry. Gerry's going to sacrifice Near Mesa, and perhaps we'll have an Arclight Phoenix be hardcast here. And we will. It'll be an attack here for 7. Now here's a bigger dredge. Dredging 5 cards with Stinkweed Imp. Lightning Axe among those cards.
But still nothing to get the ball rolling on anything on the battlefield.
Yeah. Having a tough go of it right now is Brian. Now, he does have Life in the Loam in his hand. And now, at least this time, he's got at least 1 land he can get back. Looks like 2, because there's a Mana Confluence and a Wooded Foothills down there. So perhaps we'll see him go that route.
The downside here is that there's a good chance he's just dead next turn.
Well, Conflagrate is going to clean some things up here on the battlefield. Remember, Brian's got 2 of those in the main, 3rd in the sideboard, which Patrick did want him to sideboard in. That's going to take care of the hollow one. And we're going to head back over to Gerry. And Gerry will untap and draw. He's got that Arclight Phoenix. Looks like he may have picked up another copy. So perhaps going to continue to go beatdowns here. And he will. So Brian Jackson's going to fall down to 4. We head back over to Brian. He's going to dredge Loam. Narcomoeba will enter the battlefield. And now here's that Loam that's going to get back Wooded Foothills and Mana Confluence. So Narcomoeba will have the opportunity to do a little bit of blocking here, keep Brian Jackson alive potentially. Unless Gerry has something, as there's Mana Confluence. Don't want to tap that for mana, of course. Bloodghast will help return Prized Amalgam, and we'll head back over to Gerry. And Jerry's going to very quickly untap and take a draw here. A lot of ways to get the game over with. Bedlam Reveler, not one of them. That's a Shrine of Burning Rage. This is a maximize of velocity, it looks like. Maybe.
Well, it sets up Thompson to have lethal in a couple different directions because the Shrine goes up to 1 here. Jackson has to block. He had to block before, but, you know.
He's got to block the 4-power creature now as opposed to the 3-power creature.
So falls to 1. He's got lethal coming from 2 different creatures plus outside of combat with the Shrine. So Jackson's got to dial up, a bunch of Creeping Chills off of this dredge and probably another Narcomoeba to stay in this one.
I'm thinking you're right there. Stinkweed Imp's going to give him that opportunity. 5 cards will be turned over. And
that ain't it.
That does not look like a Creeping Chill or an Archamoeba. None of the goodies. And unless Brian Jackson, well, he'd need an Ancient Grudge and then some to stay alive in this spot.
Yeah, you need a Creeping Chill, a Grudge, and 2 Narcomoebas or something like that.
Yeah.
And you only get to try so many cards.
Gerry Thompson going to win this game and match here over Brian Jackson. 2-0. Mono Red Hollow 1 will take care of Dredge, and for Gerry T, who we haven't seen that much on the SCG Tour this year, he starts off Baltimore with a win.
Nice and easy.